And we're live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Translators On Air. My name is Dmitry Karnyukhov. I'm your host. Joining me today, my incredible guest, Gio Lester. Hi, Gio.
Hello, how are you?
Thank you so much for tuning in today. Giovanna started her career in the language field as co-developer of the English language workshop in Brazil in 1980. She has lived in the United States since 1985, where she taught English and Portuguese as an adjunct professor at the Florida International University. She has also taught the introductory module of legal translation in Rio de Janeiro. And she organized international and local professional events. And you might know Gio from one of her quite successful recent online ConVTI, Online Translation and Interpreting Conference, which was a huge success, and it was 26-27, 2017. In today's topic of our conversation, we're going to be talking about freelance translators as business owners, the difference between being a freelancer and running your own business, some important things that translators should be able to do as business owners, and why client education is important and how we can approach it. But before we jump to the topic of our conversation, I would like to make a few announcements, as always. First of all, as you can see, Yelena, my incredible co-host, is not with us today. Unfortunately, she has a flu, so I wish her well, but she's with us in the comment section. Yelena, I hope you're watching this, and I hope you get well soon. Please drink a lot of fluids, and don't you dare get out of bed today and the upcoming days. We want you safe and sound. And of course, the fourth season of Translators on Air has been sponsored by our friends at SmartCat. SmartCat offers great technology where you can connect and collaborate with your clients, find more work, and use their CAT tool absolutely for free. So if this is something you're interested in, check out SmartCat by clicking the green button below this video. Or if you're watching this in the recording, just visit the first link in the description. All right, we have a few people tuning in. Sorry about the wait, guys. There has been some mishap with registration forms, but we are finally here. I would like to welcome you all. Hello, Christine, Ina, Marcia, Laura, Yelena, Tanya, Ligia, Andrei, Faustina, Zantra, Anna, Gunter, Luis, Alice, Pyrus, Melissa, Francisca, Marie, Elite, Alexander, Sabrina, and somebody under the nickname Translate It. I don't know your first name, but thank you so much for tuning in. I can see we have a few new faces here, so let me quickly explain how this platform works. This is a live webinar. Everything is happening in real time. You can participate in the conversation in the chat window on the right-hand side. You can say hi, post your questions. We have a dedicated question section where you can submit your questions, and Gio and I will be more than happy to discuss them. There is a button below this video that says Ask a Question. This is where you can open questions, view questions that have already been submitted, upvote the questions that you're most interested in, and submit your own questions. And of course, these webinars are best enjoyed with friends and colleagues. So if you have a few seconds to spare, please share the link to this webinar on social media and invite everyone to join, because we still have a few spaces left. So the more people join us, the more fun we'll have. All right, Gio, over to you. How are you?
I'm doing good. Now, I need you to pronounce your name again. Let me tell you how we say your name in Portuguese, first of all. Dimitri.
Sure. Yeah, it's pretty accurate. I pronounce it Dimitri.
Okay, so it's not that far away. Good. Yes, I'm fine. Thank you so very much. Everything's going good over here. Had a nice breakfast today.
Awesome, awesome. How was your day so far?
Cool. It's not too hot today. It's a bit humid, but not too hot. Miami, yeah. It's even a little overcast, so I'm not getting too much light from my window.
Wonderful. Yeah, well, it's getting a bit colder here in Toronto, but the weather is pretty sunny today, which is good. It's always good to have sun instead of gloomy weather.
We have about maybe a week of winter in Florida, and that's dispersed through 6 weeks or so. So you can imagine Gets too cold 2
Yeah,
days,
yes.
and then nice, you can go to the beach, and then it gets cold again. Yeah.
Yeah, my wife and I, we actually visited Miami, I think in August or September. I don't remember exactly. Yeah, it's a beautiful city.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It is nice over here. I like it.
Yeah. So Gio, I have quickly introduced you, told our audience a few things about yourself, but can you please tell everyone about yourself? Share a little bit about your journey in this beautiful profession.
Oh gosh. I started last century. That's how old I am. Yes, really. I'm a grandmother. And I do have some white hair, as you can see. But when I started on this nice journey of ours here, it was by accident. A friend of mine needed help. I had lost my job. She used a Olivetti electric typewriter with the daisy wheel. So those who remember it, I'm talking about the 1980s. That's ancient history. There were no courses for Portuguese, for translation and interpreting in my part of Brazil. Actually, they started one later on that same year when I started working. I started in April, but I didn't even know. I found out about it kind of 20 years later. So too late for me to take advantage of. I learned most of what I know by trial and error, which is not the best way to learn, and I am very happy we now have people like you sharing their knowledge and allowing others to do so. All the universities and courses we have nowadays are also very needed, very much needed, and I'm very happy. I wish I were starting all over again so I could take advantage of all this.
Yes.
So yeah, my advice to all of you is take advantage of every opportunity you have to learn. I just spent part of my weekend in Orlando at a conference. And I'm going to be attending another webinar when this is over. So yeah, learning is a never-ending pursuit.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. May I ask what conference have you attended?
It was called Finding the Parallels. It was a conference that I developed in 2013 with Agustin de la Mota of de la Mota Interpreter Training. It is the goal of the conference is to bring all practitioners of judiciary and medical interpreting so that we can find out what the parallels are between the two professions, what the differences are, and bring them closer together so that we can work without problems. So we have certifications now for both. There is a difference, and we need to close that gap so that people fully understand what they are. It was very interesting. I was part of the ethics panel this year.
Interesting. Well, I hope you enjoyed the conference.
It was fun. It was fun.
Okay, Gio, let's jump to the topic of our conversation. Sure. Today we are talking about freelance translators as business owners. And according to you, I think there is a distinction between being a freelancer and being a business owner. So can you please explain to our viewers what is the difference between freelancing and running your own business in terms of attitude?
Attitude basically is the only difference. There shouldn't be any difference between one and the other. The moment you exchange your services for cash, you're a business. That's it. But there is an attitude issue. Many people leave the universities without a background on business. It is like you call the agency or the agency calls you. They tell you, I have this document. You sign the paper saying that you accept, and you do the job and you deliver. Done. We're going to use everything you learned here in school in the middle of these two transactions, receiving the document and delivering the document. Excuse me, this is incomplete. We need to be able to negotiate. And we will only do that when we internalize that I am the CEO of my business. This is it. So yes, Dimitri, you are sending me a project. And together with the project, there is a contract. Mm-hmm. I will check that contract out. And I'll tell you that item 6 really does not apply to me. I do not live in your country. I'm not paying taxes over there. So I'm going to collect my taxes over here. Don't even try to collect taxes to withhold money from me. It's not your position, or whatever the issue is. But we can only do that once we realize that this is my business. I am the boss. The agency is a client. So that's how you deal with it. It's a matter of attitude more than anything else.
Why do you think it is important to distinguish one from the other, distinguish freelancing from running your own business?
No, I only think it's important for you to have the attitude. Because all Brazilians call themselves freelance. I mean, not 100%, but they call themselves freelance, which is a word that I really abhor. I don't like it. But for them, that is the word. That's how they call themselves. They are freelancers, and that has a lot to do with the structure of the country with regards to taxes, the definition of professions, etc., etc. Who am I to tell them what to call themselves? That's fine. Okay. I just don't use the word because I don't like it. For me, it has a derogatory tone. But remember, I've been in the US for 35 years. So the connection I have with that word is that old. It has evolved. Language evolves. So anyways, back to what we're talking about. Being a freelancer is not a way of moonlighting. No, you still have a job. You just need to realize that, to react to that word as if you were a self-employed individual. You don't need to go and register a company. I mean, go ask how many prostitutes have their services registered with this state. Unless you're in Holland, it doesn't exist. Are they professionals? Yes, they are. Okay. Now, so that's the idea. You don't have to have a structured business legally registered to be a business. You are. It's a matter of attitude. When did I arrive at this? It was not when I started. Definitely no. It took me time. I learned through conversations with colleagues and courses that I took. I worked as an executive secretary, and they took clues from my boss. And there are certain things that we need to be very aware of when we adopt that attitude, when you are no longer just a tool in the hands of an agency or a long-time client of yours. So it takes time, but it's necessary. And now we have tools to help us get there. We have people sharing knowledge, and we have a lot of software that's available to us. From what you told me, SmartCat does something similar to that in terms of allowing you to manage your work. And there are a lot more out there.
Yeah. Interesting. What do you think are the main benefits of this change of attitude, of transitioning from I'm a freelancer to I'm a business owner?
Everybody likes it, right? Everybody wants some more money. Okay. You see these books I have back here? I can write them off in my IRS return. It's not valid for every country, but in many countries, that's a business expense. The trip I just took to Orlando, I'm going to write that off as a business expense. I didn't go there to sit by the pool. I went there to work. So it is important. courses that you take, all of those little things. You're going to, me as an interpreter, I have to travel a lot. So everywhere I go, I keep my receipts, and all of those are business expenses. And the other thing is you can then negotiate from a position of strength with your clients. And this is very important. I recall a client from Ireland, and at the time he was a potential client, not a real client. Okay. We discussed the project, everything was fine, and they sent me the contract. The court of jurisdiction was in Ireland. So I wrote to him and I said, unfortunately, since this project's going to be less than $2,000, there is no motivation for me to accept the Court of Ireland as the venue with jurisdiction. I did some research and found out your company has offices in the state of Washington in the United States. Could we transfer jurisdiction to your representative office? I mean, I do not know the laws of Ireland. I might be breaking a law without even knowing it. So I'm glad to do the job under the same terms with this one change. And he took it to his legal department, checked it out. They accepted. 3 days later, they got the job done. So yes, you can speak up, better saying, and your clients will listen to you because they want what you have to deliver to them. So, and those of you who are here who attended ConVTI, Ligia, I know you were there, Marcia. So Paula Arturo is a lawyer from Argentina, and she's actually a practicing translator. She gave us plenty of advice on the subject. So when you go to discuss your contract, they may have something related to copyrights belonging to the agency. She kind of shined a light on that one. In reality, the client, not the agency, holds the copyright. You have no authority to relinquish it to the agency. It's not yours. It's not theirs. So, excuse me. So little details like that. Yes, it will vary from country to country, but there are some commonalities that we need to be aware. For example, contracts that are too biased towards one entity or the other, be it too protective of the professional or too protective of the agency or the client. You can discuss those terms. You can negotiate. So yes, money is very important.
So when you're behaving like a business owner, that means that there are some certain things that you should be able to do. What are some of the things that translators should be able to do as business owners, in your opinion?
Well, besides the discount on the IRS for some of us, not all of us, I was in the Bahamas and I mentioned that. Everybody started laughing. I said, okay, I told a joke I didn't even know. What is it? It doesn't work like that in our tax code. Okay, so it doesn't work for you, it works for me, good for me. Anyways, so that's one of the things, being able to negotiate your contract. You can feel more free to take courses, for example, and focus on the fields that interest you a little better, because now you know that expense is going to come back to you, not only from the end results of your efforts, the work you're going to deliver, but also because the government's going to recognize that as a business expense and reimburse a portion of that to you. That's one thing. When you deal with your clients, it is not being in the receiving end of their kindness. No, business to business. So you need 100,000 words done in 5 days. Okay, you can now negotiate with them. Can I bring a team of colleagues? They will be all qualified and will all be working under the same contract I sign with you, blah, 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 blah. You speak with authority. The one thing we need to know and be very aware of is that businesses do not have emotions. So when they ask you, how can you lower the price a little bit? Really, I need your best price because I am bidding against so many people. You should be able to simply say, well, that is my price. That is the best price I can give you. Sorry, won't be able to work together this time. I look forward to future opportunities. Do not close doors. Be professional. It is not like, you think what? I'm a monkey? No, I'm not. I have to work. No, forget that attitude. You can be all, upset from here back. But what you're going to show your client is your professional self. Sorry, Dimitri, but that's my rate. Maybe we can work together next time. I look forward to another opportunity. Thank you. So again, we go back to attitude. And we go back to being able to take advantage of taxes. When I need to go on vacation, for example, I always try to pair that up with a conference. Why? My IRS return. Part of my expenses can be discounted. Yeah, I go to the conference, it's 3-4 days. I take 2 days to relax. So what I eat those 2 days, my expenses those 2 days, I don't include in my return. But during the conference, everything that goes there, yeah. And at night, I'm not in the conference anymore. It's not working hours anymore. I can enjoy myself. Not beer, but caipirinhas. I accept invitations.
I think it's very smart that you combine vacationing and attending conferences. I think I need to rethink my whole approach to vacationing.
I learned it with Jonathan Hine, who is, I don't know if you're familiar with the freewheeling translator. He has a nice blog.
Not sure.
He travels all over the world by bike and works while he is on his bike.
Wow. That's excellent. We should probably invite him as one of the guests. I think he could share some very interesting stories. I mean,
yes,
he could travel also on bike. That's amazing.
He stayed with me on the southern leg of his trip because he breaks them out into journeys. So the first one was the northern, and he went all the way to the west side of the United States from the northern states. Then he came down and stayed here in Florida for a little while. Right now, I think he finished the rivers part of his journey in Europe. He's here for the ATA conference. He'll be here for the ATA conference in the United States. And then he's going to go on another trip. Yeah.
Excellent. Very adventurous spirit. So let's circle back to our conversation. Well, part of the being a business owner means that you have to constantly educate your clients about your services, about translation. What are some of the best ways that we as business owners can educate
that is
our
a
clients?
sore subject for some people. Let me clarify. I am not talking about lecture your client. No. We can educate our clients in very subtle ways. But first, we need to educate ourselves. You need to know what is your daily output. How many words can you do a day in specific subjects? Legal, I go down to maybe 1,200. But other subjects, I can get to 2,000. I need to know that. Maybe I have plans this weekend. So if a client wants me to work during that period of time, I can charge them a little bit more if I can accommodate it. If not, I'll just tell them, sorry. But then a client comes to you and they offer you 8,000 words for you to do in 2 days. So if you know what your output is, you can come to the client and say, like I had this conversation with my brother, all right? So 8,000 words I can deliver to you in 3 days. Oh, but I need it tomorrow. Well, how long do you think took somebody to type those 6 pages? So it's going to take me that plus a little bit more because I have to understand so I can translate and then have to type. So there are 3 steps to that. Then I have to proofread it before delivering it to you. You're educating your client. You're not lecturing them. You're having a conversation. Another thing is your blog. Write about the work you do and share that with your clients. That is part of client education. I was contacted by a gentleman once who asked me for an estimate. I gave it to him. His response was, whoa, I was expecting 50% of that. I said, look, that price you're proposing was practiced in the 1980s. We are in the 1990s. That was 1997 at the time. So I can't go back to that. And I do not know anyone I could refer you to because I do not know anybody who's practicing that rate. He goes, we continued talking for another 10, 15 minutes. He gave me the job.
Excellent.
I told him, look, you can go to the American Translators Association. This is the URL, and you can contact the people there and see what they tell you. Maybe there's someone I don't know, but so that is the idea. You're supposed to tell your clients. Just an example. Let's say that you have to go through surgery. Let's say it's a gallbladder surgery. All you know is you're going to go to the hospital. You're going to fill in a few forms. They're going to take you to the bedroom there in the hospital. Then you go to the surgery, the operating room. They're going to do something in you. Then you're going to come out and pay a lot of money for that experience. That's it. Do you have any idea of what the doctor is actually going to do? What tissues is going to cut? How long the incision is going to be? How many sutures he's going to put there? No, you don't. Oh, yeah. You cannot expect your clients to know what you do as a translator or as an interpreter. You have to tell them. So I've had people who come and say, oh, can I take the little listening thing? I want to hear the rest of the lecture. What? Yeah, they were thinking that the little receptor that they were using with the headphone was translating the conference for them and recording it. So they wanted to take that to their bedroom and listen to the rest of the... They have no idea. They have no clue. We have to tell them. We have that happening all the time.
What do you think is the best? What do you think is the best approach to tell them in person or through blogs or maybe a phone call?
Everything, as long as it works. Yeah, it's just like taking care of my orchids. When I go to the meetings, they tell us, everybody's asking, what is the best fertilizer? What's the best fertilizer? The one you use. So whatever approach works for you, that is the best one. I love writing, so I do that a lot. And as professionals also need to be educated. That is another issue. We have a lot of people coming into the profession without a business background, without any information, no business education. They are so glad to find work. They are working for nothing. And that completely destabilizes the market. And we who have fought for many years to get to a certain standing and create a situation where everyone can flourish, all of a sudden lose our footing. there was a period I went without work for almost 2 years because of that. Yes. Especially when the internet started, everybody wanted to send jobs down to Brazil. I had a conversation with a gentleman who wanted to pay, at the time I charged 10 cents a word. And he said, oh, no. I send it to Brazil. They charge me 3 cents a word, which is about 1.5 cents of a dollar. And then I send it to somebody to review it and clean it for me for another 2 cents a word. So guess what? I'm making a lot of money. No, that's fine. So the market is globalized. Yes, there are differences between what Brazil or the Ukraine or China or Turkey can accommodate in terms of rate. We can be aware of that. We can share that information with our colleagues so that we are better informed.
It's interesting. The topic of translation rates is probably one of the most debated ones, and it often comes up in our webinars. And I always say that whenever you're living in Brazil, Russia, Canada, or Ukraine, or anywhere else, you have to understand that we live in a global economy. Globalization is everywhere, and we need to take advantage of globalization, not the other way around. So if you have clients who are willing to send you work, but clients are in the United States or in markets that have higher incomes or higher overall level of wealth, you need to understand what's a typical rate for them and charge that rate, and you end up making more money, and your spending and living expenses will be far lower because you're living in, I don't know, Brazil, Ukraine, their living expenses are lower than, for example, in Canada or United States. So why not take advantage of that if you have clients from another country where, I don't know, where 12 cents, 18 cents, or whatever cents are a standard and is acceptable. Why not take advantage of that?
Yeah, a colleague of mine once was questioned by a client here from the United States. My colleague's down in Brazil, and he works with a very specific niche, financial translations. That's all he does. Has to do with finances, money, and he's my guru. I have questions, I go to him. Okay. So the client goes, why are you charging me all that? You live in you live in Brazil, in a third world country. And his response was, but my work is first world quality.
That's an excellent response. I need to take a note next time somebody asks us about the...
Well, one thing is, one of the reasons why this discrepancy happens is going back to what I said before. We need to educate the professionals. Every time you print a sheet of paper, it costs you money. It's electricity that you're paying. It's the ink that you're paying, the depreciation of your equipment, and the electricity. I don't know if I said that, but all of that. Those are business expenses. You need to account for that always. So I know how much it costs for me to operate my office. Do you know how much it costs you to operate your office every year? You need to have that in your head. So what I usually do, and I tell people to do, is start by thinking how much money you want to make a year. Let's make it round. $100,000 or 100,000, whatever. Okay. There are 52 weeks in the year. So divide that 100,000 by the number of weeks you want to work. You might want to take a month vacation or a 6 months vacation. I don't know. So if you're not going to be working the 52 weeks, let's say you're going to work 49 weeks. You're taking 3 weeks off. So divide 100,000 by 49. That number you got is how much you need to make a week. Now, how many hours do you want to work a week? Maybe 30, maybe 60. It's your world, not mine. So divide that number by the number of weeks, of hours you want to work a week, and there you have the number of the rate you have to charge per hour to get to your 100,000 within the number of weeks and number of hours you want to work. Now, the most important question is, does your market accommodate that number, that value just got? And how much do you have to charge per word to get there? So a page is usually 300 words, a letter size page. So divide that number by 300, if that is how much you can do in an hour, and you have an idea of how much you're going to be charging per word. It's a simple math, very simple math equation. You just need to know what you can do, what you can deliver.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking about the office expenses, we have a question about organizing your office. Can you share some tips how you, as business owner, organize your office to make it more efficient so it can help you in your work?
When I moved to my home here, I actually had a professional come and help me organize my office, and it was marvelous. Right now, I'm coming out from Harvey and Irma, Jose and Maria, all the hurricanes we had over here, and things are not the way they're supposed to be yet. But on my ideal office, what I did was I created my library, and on top, I had the reference books that I don't use all the time. Below, I always leave a space for the books I'm going to be using. So I just bring them down, I put them there, and I have space around my desk to accommodate those books. So I'm done with book 1, I close it, I put it up there, and book 2, and then when I'm done, I put them back where they belong. And that's the ideal scenario. I wish it happened like that all the time. I have my cat that decides to sleep over there, so I don't have a place to put my books anymore. And, you know, life happens. Right now, I have a glass of water there because I knew I was going to be talking, and we need to hydrate. Things that we learn as, But the one thing I always keep very organized, especially now that most things are electronic, is my computer. It is so organized that I've called my husband from Peru and had him find a file on my computer to send to a client of mine from Peru. Had no view of my computer, nothing. But I could tell him, look, over here, over there, click this, click that. This is the file. This is the folder. This is the file. And go to my Google account and choom, send it to such and such person. So yeah, that's necessary. But my space, I have a desk behind me that I try to keep empty because that's where I still use a lot of paper. I like it. I like the weight in my hands. I like the smell. And I have books written by colleagues of mine. So when I miss one of them, I just go there and I look at, you know, go back to conversations we had ages ago. So I try to keep that area empty so I can put my books there, any reference material. Sometimes I'm working with 2 computers. I have my trusted PC over here, my desktop over here, and I'm working on my laptop. So are you hearing that weird noise that came over now? The ding, ding, ding? No?
No, not really.
Yeah, it keeps coming for me. Strange. So anyways, and I am actually purging right now. I have a drawer that I have not opened in about 6 years. And I moved to this house 11 years ago. It's full of glossaries, paper glossaries. So I've selected a few because the few is still, the information is still relevant. Others, the information has changed. So I'm throwing those out, and the others I'm going to scan and make them digital files again so I can use them. But I'm a pack rat. It's what my husband calls me. I'm a pack rat. I have in my computer files that date back 30 years. Yes, I do.
Wow. Yeah, having these clearly organized systems in place, I think it's very beneficial for you as a business owner, because you can find everything easily and it helps you save.
And being able to turn almost everything you have in your hands into PDF is wonderful. I got an email from a client with instructions I need to save. If I try to save it as Word, it's going to get completely discombobulated. I save it as a PDF where I take a picture of the screen and save it. Oh, that is so great. All my IRS stuff is saved in my computer. At the end of the year, I just send it to the accountant. Done. I don't have to worry. Yep. I am certified by both Abrates and ATA. I need to get continuing education points for ATA. I go anywhere, I come home, scan my certificate, put into my little continuing education folder 2017. Boom, goes there, done. Nothing to worry about. I can even lose the paper, but I have the electronic version of it, and that's what counts. So yeah, being organized. So I'm more organized digitally than physically. I think physically I follow my hair.
We have a question from Spyros. Do you use some specific program or software to keep your professional life in order, or maybe some other system?
I like to use Dropbox to keep my work safe. Sometimes I use Google Drive when I am collaborating with colleagues because it's easier, it's very practical. And there is a thing called PDF tools that I downloaded. They have many different types of applications within the same package, and it's really neat. Today, for example, I finished a translation for a client, and I could not add a page to it because it was a special dedicated formatting. So I had to create a separate page. I did so, my certification. I saved it as a PDF, saved the final document for them also as a PDF, and used PDF tools to combine the two PDF documents. So now my client has one document, that's it. I don't have to send him two and for them to follow. No, one, that's enough. So there are many different.
Yeah, PDF tools are very convenient. I think I'm using something similar. They are online. They can merge, split, convert PDFs into other formats other formats into PDFs, and it's very useful, especially when clients need PDF files.
3 weeks ago, I think. Wow, gosh, it's been a long time already. I attended a webinar put together by a court reporting agency. I am the editor of the Najit Observer, which is the, they call it the blog, but it's a weekly publication put together by Najit with the National Association of Judiciary Interpreters and Translators. So I went to this court interpreting webinar, and it was geared to lawyers, how to work best with their system. Great. They had so many different tips for us, so many different hacks. I actually wrote an article about that. It's on the Najit Observer, if you go online and look for it. So I have a list of of software that I learned about attending that webinar. I mean, it's not for translators, it's not for interpreters, it's for lawyers, but it helped me.
I personally love exploring or learning new software, there is a great website called producthunt.com. This is where makers from all over the world,
I'm writing that
create
down.
interesting
Product
products
Hunt?
or tools. And,
okay.
And, yes, .com. And you can find all sorts of software in there. Quite often it's still in early stages, so many of those tools are available for free for early adopters. This platform, actually, I think what we are using right now, I discovered there. So, and a lot of other tools too that help you be more organized. And
wow, I'm sending you you one that I go to appsumo.com. Sumo from the Japanese martial art, sumo. So they have a bunch of deals there. They're awesome. You can get software that the regular license will be $300. They have a flash sale, 24 hours only, at $20. So sign up, receive their notices. Awesome. I got photo editing software through them, a few others. They're great. Oh, yeah. So neat.
So when we work with clients, our work doesn't stop after the delivery in the project, because there is also post-sales process, post-project process. Can you please tell us a little bit how this process looks like and how do you approach it?
I like to use CRM software, Constant Contact, MailChimp, to about 3 times a year reach out to my clients, and I consider that part of my post-sales. It's keeping in touch. I've done the project, it's delivered, I don't hear from my client, I don't have to be chasing them, but I'll tell them, I just participated in Translators On Air. If you want to hear what I had to say about the work we do, check here. Boom, that's it. But instead of sending that as an email, I go to MailChimp or Constant Contact, so a platform like that, and I create an elegant email. I put pictures and other stuff so that they will have a sense of, a more personalized contact with me. Now, it's not just a bunch of little black marks against a white background. No. And when I finish my projects, I don't usually send my invoice together with the document. I take that as another opportunity to interact with my client. I will send the document to them, and I tell them that I'll be sending the invoice in 2 days, because if they have anything that needs to be revised or added or whatever, I still have that break. I've had clients add a full page to a document after it was delivered. So I just added to what I had already given to them, and I sent one invoice. Easy, simple. So I send it to them. I always thank them. Always. Thank you for the opportunity to work with you. I look for future collaborations. Good. And then when I send my invoice, I also send a nice little note with it, because I want them to remember me. Even if they're going to think, oh, that's the cheesy lady. I don't care. That's fine. It's me. They're thinking of me. Good. As long as it's not negative, I'm for it. So I do that. I keep in touch with them, because we need, my job doesn't finish when I deliver the document, because they're going to come back to me. They can come back with a complaint, they can come back with a compliment, they can come back with more work, or they can come back with a referral. So these are different opportunities for interaction, and I need to cultivate that.
Absolutely. And how often do you follow up with your existing clients?
I mostly have direct clients, and we are constantly in contact. The agencies are the ones that sometimes go away, and I just use the mail, the MailChimp, the CRM, to send something to them about every 4 months or every 3 months, something like that. Unless things are really, really down and desperately need that money, then I go and I call up, or, you know, I go to them more often, but usually this is it.
Yeah. Okay, good to know. We have a question from Paige, and the question is actually about growing your client base. So besides producing social media content, what are some ways to grow your client base organically?
I am not sure I understand what organically means necessarily. I am very focused on when I decide it's time to go and look for new clients. I take a very focused approach. For example, I decide which of the fields I work in I want to expand. For example, let's go to banking. So I go to the banking conferences. I look for them on the internet. I check to see who attended, and I get that list. I check to see who's sponsoring it, and I check that list. I get it down into my computer. And then I go select 3 or 4 of those attendees and sponsors, and I investigate their company online. I check it out. Okay. I see there which ones. Okay, there's something else. Okay, so I go online and I check. So let's say I work with Brazilian Portuguese and English. So I had clients that were French, Irish, and Japanese banks. Not Irish, Israeli, yeah. French, Israeli, and Japanese banks. So do not think that only because they are not from an English-speaking or Portuguese-speaking country, they are not going to be interested in your services. They can. They can be too. Depends on whether they have then subsidiaries in your country or in a country that speaks the language you work with. That's it. Okay, so pick 3 or 4 of those guys. Go visit their website, find out who's in charge of human resources, marketing, communications, and that's who you're going to write to. Now, one thing I learned recently is that before you would go and say, hello, my name is Giovanna Lester. I'm a translator and interpreter. I've been working on this thing for 37 years. No. Nowadays, what you do is look at what your client needs. Why are you approaching a French bank to offer services in Portuguese and English? Why? So that is the issue, because they are expanding into Brazil. And what can you give them? You can make them sound like natives. So that's you're going to write to them. I just noticed that you're expanding into Brazil, which is a market I'm very familiar with because I am Brazilian. At the same time, my familiarity with English, blah, 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 and I can assist you in sounding just like a native when addressing your prospective Brazilian clients. There you go. So you have to submit a solution to them. Not, hey, I need jobs. Give me some money here. No, that's not it. On the contrary. So it is possible. It might not always bring you the result you want. So you picked 4, you worked with those 4. Now, Paige, if they didn't respond the way you wanted, maybe one of them did, go down the line. Don't go to 200 because you might find yourself in the situation my daughter was. She got 4 job offers and it was like, Mom, what do I do now? You don't want that. So that's what I do. So I'm very focused. And when I do it, I try not to be too harsh or too business-like. I try to find a balance, offer my services, but not through a hard sale. That's what I do, Paige.
Excellent approach. I think it's a really good approach, and it's much more natural rather than just trying to jump at your client and pitch your services right away. I think it's very off-putting when people do it, because I receive similar emails all the time from, I don't know, freelancers or companies who offer their web development services, for example, or SEO services or something
and if you
else.
have
And I always delete those emails because I just don't like this approach.
No, I don't like that either. No. Another thing is, if you like networking, go do that. I do that a lot. And if you don't have business cards, don't worry. You can either create one on your telephone and pass that on to people electronically, or you can simply tell them, please let me have yours. I'm fresh out of cards right now, and I'll send you my information. And when you send the information, that's your opportunity to do that little sale. Dimitri, it was wonderful talking with you. And don't forget, I am here to help you sound just like a native next time you try to reach someone down in Brazil. Count on me. Easy, simple.
Awesome. Yeah, very simple approach. Gio, we have one last question from a member of our audience. I'm not sure if it's a question that is right for our topic, but I'm still going to ask it. I don't know. Do you work with other translators? And if you do, how do you hire translators that are in different language pairs that is not yours?
I've had to do that twice in my life. I try not to. I'm not an agency. I try not to. But one of my clients, who happens to be a big law firm here in Miami, started talking to me November 2015 about a project. And I finally got the project in March, 1 week prior to my birthday. And I was going to a conference to be presenting at a conference in New York, the GALA, the GALA conference they held last year there. So last thing I needed was to have this, I think it was, I had to put a group of colleagues together, but I had already in November contacted them. Everything fell through, but at least I had their reference and their phone numbers and emails. So that's what I do. When I have to share work with colleagues, if they are in my language pair, I use reference from others. Maybe I work with 3 or 4. I have 3 or 4 and I'll need more. I ask them to refer someone to me and I talk to those people and I check them out. I go through their, their websites and other things they might have available, blogs, etc. I also refer to the internet, to associations, professional associations. This case was legal, and everything was English, Portuguese, except for an award the person received from Japan. And it was all in beautiful Japanese script. It was gorgeous. I did not understand a word of it, but I knew someone who did. And I've known her for 25 years. That was the first time I had an opportunity to work with her. So I sent it to her because I knew who she was. If she had referred somebody else to me, if she had been busy, I would have followed her suggestion because she knew what I was looking for. I was very clear what I needed and how I needed it. And if she could deliver it, great. If not, she could recommend somebody. So I understand enough French and I speak enough French to say, je ne parle pas français. That's it. Same thing with my Italian, and it dies there. So working into other languages and people who work into other languages is difficult for me, except with Spanish. That's easier.
Yeah.
Not because of my Portuguese, but because I've had occasion to work with Spanish before in my job at the bank. So I had to go through letters and documents, etc. And I had to be educated on it, crash courses. So yeah, I use references and colleagues. And I go to the associations and I look for information there in order to qualify those I'm going to be working with, going to be part of my team. And sometimes I try to have my clients pay them directly. So I don't have to worry about 1099s, and I don't want to be, responsible for paying them. So I put them in contact with the client. There's one project I mentioned in March last year. No, that one, I was the project manager. Everything came to me. I arranged with the client to have an advance payment. So I paid everybody about 25% of what we had arranged, we had agreed upon. And then 2 weeks later, they received the rest of their payment when I got paid too. But I made sure I had the money to pay them in case the client backed out or anything happened. I had the funds to pay them just in case.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, no.
Yeah.
Yes.
Better be safe than sorry. Well, I hope this answers the question from our audience. We actually been talking for over an hour now. It's been a real pleasure talking to you, Gio, and I think we could go on and on and on. But I think we're gonna wrap things up. Are there any final words that you would like to add?
Okay, 2 things. Number 1, check who you are professionally speaking. Analyze what your output is. And that's easy. You know, you got a document. How long did it take you to finish it? And then how many words were there in the document? And that will tell you how much you can produce in a given amount of time. So be aware of what your limitations are. Be aware of what your deliverables can be. Don't promise the world to a client and then deliver them only the moon. You know, that doesn't fly. You burn yourself. Make sure that you know you are the CEO of your business. Talk to people from a position of strength. It's not arrogance. There is a big difference there. You know, talk to them from a position of strength. Yes, I would love to help you. Please send me more information on the project so I can look into it. Don't jump into, oh yeah, my rate's 10 cents a word. Nah, forget that. You don't even know what the job is. Take a look at it. Take the time. I've bitten that bullet, and man, that was not nice. Yes, and I did that many times until I learned. So I'm passing to you something that I suffered to learn. It's with pain that I learned, and I'm telling you with a smile. So analyze the documents before making a commitment. You always have the time. If they don't have the time, it's their problem. You know, lack of organization on your part is not an emergency on my end. Nuh-uh. 2 different things. You know, so.
Yeah, true story. Beautiful advice, Gio, and thank you so much for joining us today. It was a great pleasure talking to you. I hope everyone watching us right now, I hope you guys enjoyed the webinar. Please don't forget to check out our website at translatorsonair.com. We have recorded 3 seasons of this show, so if you are watching this for the first time, go check it out, because we have a lot of interesting videos with great people of our industry sharing a ton of useful advice. Also, don't forget to check out the website of our sponsor by clicking the green button below this video, or if you're watching this in the recording, just click the first link in the description. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in, and I hope you guys will have a wonderful day, evening or afternoon, depending on where you are in the world.
Yeah, Elena,
bye-bye,
don't
everyone.
forget,
Bye,
liquids. Rest. Ciao.
Yes, Elena, liquids.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone.